I don't know about other gamers, but I had no use at all for that kind of dubious pleasure. And all that is without even mentioning the fact that a year ago, fully functional AI was introduced in a lot of games, which must have required just about as much time to get working in real gaming conditions. By the way, if anyone were to ask me, I'd say as a programmer that creating a fully functional AI was just not possible. But of course, it was specifically with the development of fully functional AI that our scientists were able to finally check the achieved box next to the human brain has been fully figured out. And only they know what might now be possible with the availability of the first neurohelmets. The blind are able to see, the deaf can listen to music, and even a lot of mental illnesses have unexpectedly turned out to be nothing more than minor problems. Schizophrenia? Pfft. Put on the helmet and think about something good. The voices will go away and never come back. Oh man, what am I even thinking about? The technicians had already been explaining to me the working capacity of each of the capsule's functions, along the way explaining how and when to change out the consumables. Actually, I suspect that I knew more about that and about every other aspect of the capsule than they did, having spent the previous year studying every accessible piece of technical information. All the same, I did want to know just what it was that would be manipulating my precious brain and this body that I had grown so used to in 30 years. "You'll like it in Arktania," said the technician playfully, handing me a multicolored box with the game's documentation. "They say this is the new generation of virtual reality, and it has a totally new quest assignment process and an unbelievable social component." I nodded politely, even though I already knew the advertising catalog perfectly backwards and forwards. Actually, the news from the youngest and most fashionable world of Arktania, for me, had already become more interesting than news from the real world. Arktania came onto the scene just a few months ago and became pretty popular, even in spite of its really high subscription cost and the huge demand for virtual reality capsules. This is because the pilot project from the subsidiary company of Rusvert Tech, which up to then had preferred to put out contracts for game building to experienced East Asian and European manufacturers, was initially positioned as the only virtual reality which exploited the super expensive SuperVert 3000 capsules to their full potential. Of course, I could have bought a capsule more easily and started to play in the older worlds like Throne of the classic Middle Kingdom as early as a year ago. But beyond the depth of the immersion, there was one other thing that bothered me. All those other games had long ago been explored top to bottom. Millions of top gamers, thousands of clans, and gig after gig of publicly accessible guidebooks really made those universes less appealing, even despite the seemingly endless global events thought up by the greatest writers. No, better to play in an unexplored gaming universe where there's still the sense of the frontier, and there's a chance to become the first and the best, something unique, even if it hadn't been possible in life before then. An hour later, I was finally alone, one-on-one with the virtual capsule. When closed, it looked more than anything like a white plastic egg with wires and pipes running into it. Yeah, especially pipes. A water hookup for mixing the different nutritional concentrates, draining of waste. In these versions, practically everything had been anticipated. More than that, thanks to the built-in massage system with its electrical current, your muscles could stay toned, so players could stay in the virtual world for a few days at a time without any problems at all. There were rumors that this class of capsule was being used by people who had suffered damage to the musculoskeletal system, for whom virtual reality had now completely replaced real life. Of course, this was all rigorously controlled by the factory settings, which monitored the physical condition of the player and would kick the player out into the real world at the first sign of a threat to their health. In general, this capsule had a special relationship with one's health. So many sensors had been stuffed into it that there was simply no need for a doctor anymore. The only thing the SuperVert 3000 couldn't do was perform surgery, although even on that I wasn't completely sure. All the data from the sensors were tracked by the company's servers, and that was one of the many reasons that this kind of capsule was available to very few people. I made myself a cup of coffee and sat down at my desktop.